Good morning, folks. Welcome to the show. Good morning and welcome to the Code Talk Morning Show. And I am your host, Victor Vincian. And today we're primarily streaming on X, formerly known as Twitter, and YouTube. And we're going to talk about uh, the new book, Accountable Masculinity. Identifying the disciplined version of yourself. And it drops sometime today. It's in final stages of publishing. I'm pretty excited about it. And I wanted to take time to just make to do a spot on this book today, because all of us got to identify a better version of ourselves every day, and hopefully you're choosing the better version of yourself, as you should, you know. So I wanted to say thank you to everyone that supported, the platform, whether you follow me on Facebook, um, IG, X, formerly known as Twitter, and or YouTube. I want everybody to go support the channel, of course, though. So um, I would like to take a few moments to talk about some of the parts of the book that's going to be outlined, and make the show today about that. Uh, and we're operating off of, everybody's operating off some sort of principle, some sort of code. Some people follow it, what I'm saying, in a religious sense. But there's some other added tools that you can put in there too that help you decipher where all of this other information fits at in your life. And we all need clarifying tools sometimes, and I think that that's very important. So uh, one of the main things that I wanted to highlight and discuss in this book is we want to talk about what we need to avoid and what we need to look out for. And in general, it's going to come along the same lines of, hey, rule number one, men got to focus on themselves. I drive this home so much because it's not just men that need to focus on themselves, but like accountable men focus on themselves. And it's important to recognize people that mind their business. And that way you understand exactly, what your boundaries are, where you need to go, what you need to avoid. This is about, just recognizing threats to your personal business, your safety, your privacy, the people you love, all of that. So uh, in chapter one, when you get a chance to check this book out, it introduces 9 key principles of accountable masculinity, focusing on self-improvement and healthy relationships. The first principle, disciplined men focus on themselves. Resilience is key. Emphasizes the importance of self-respect as the foundation for personal growth. And then the chapter explores the role of empathy, selflessness, intuition, love, and the accuracy of information in the self-improvement journey for men. It also highlights the significance of understanding and managing negativity, building confidence, and effective expectation management. These principles collectively form a comprehensive framework to guide men in their pursuit of becoming better versions of themselves, fostering positive growth and contributing to the well-being of others. So let me pull this up on the screen so you guys can see it and kind of follow along. And the the uh, the intent on a lot of this stuff is just to you want to focus on the stuff that you can control, and you can't do that if you don't understand what you're responsible for. You know, so focusing on yourself is the key piece in moving forward with these things that I'm discussing. So you got to have some sort of boundaries, but you don't have any boundaries when you don't have any ethics. You don't have any personal code of conduct. You don't have any type of, restrictions placed on you where people have to access you the right way. So focusing on yourself is very, very key, very vital to what's going on here. You know, uh, when we get into um, resilience, that you can't have what you want without drive. You can't keep what you have obtained without discipline. So resilience is always going to be part of. You have to be disciplined to be resilient, and one pivots off of the other. Because if you know what it takes to be the best version of yourself, if you know it, you're going to live a certain type of way. You're going to function a certain type of way to maintain your access to that path, so you can accomplish what you meant to accomplish. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the first chapter is going to talk about, how important resilience is, as stated up here on the screen. And with all of that, the empathy piece, the love, everything that packs into discipline and resilience, you have to have a love for something, whether it be your process, your outcome, however you want to frame it. You have to have something that you love, that you're committed to. Yeah, some things are going to be business, but that's where you separate when you got to do what you got to do, and what I'm saying, and to be able to do what you love. You got to make some sacrifices in there. So resilience is very key. Let's see here. Then we're going to talk about chapter 2. Avoid unhealthy conflicts. Chapter 2 delves into the impact of celebrity culture. We talk about some relationships, and whether it be friendships, platonic, romantic, are pivoted off of what people observe and they mirror in popular media. And the access to information is both a gift and a curse for a lot of people. And how that spills out into the real world, it varies greatly from person to person based on the way that they was raised. And you got a lot of negative perceptions in conflict with what people think is right. And in most cases, people do that fit into this situation are usually operating off of emotion. Emotions, generally speaking, are gonna have a limited effectiveness when it comes down to making responsible decisions. Most people do not make responsible decisions off emotions. That's just the facts. And if you feel differently, that's just your emotions talking. Discussion extends into legal issues surrounding celebrities, particularly in cases of sexually immoral conduct. Chapter suggests that technology and social media provide unprecedented insight into the personal lives of public figures. It highlights the need for individuals to learn about themselves and their values through observing the challenges faced by those in the public eye. And basically, all you have to do is see the outcomes of people's choices. Observe them and say, you know what? I don't have to do that. That's what this is about. What mistakes have people already made that I do not have to go ahead and do? What negative experiences can I see for myself and say, I don't have to do that? And that is very, very key, because a lot of times the unhealthy conflict comes into thinking that you can reproduce a better outcome in a negative situation that you already observed. You just thinking they didn't do it right. Yeah, they probably didn't do it right. That's probably why it's a topic. But what were they doing? Like, what were they doing to begin with? Were they fighting an uphill battle, a battle that couldn't be won, and then, you know what I'm saying, and then it just didn't work out for them? And in most cases, that's how it goes. So when it comes down to it, what type of fights are you fighting? You know, can you win them? What's the point? What's the outcome? What's the trophy for your involvement into an unhealthy conflict? So is the juice worth the squeeze? Can you learn from it? See, then then somewhere in the course of the chapter we shift and talk about sexual discipline is written throughout this book because the relationships that go along with your behavior pivot off of your sexual discipline too. Um, the the best or the worst of your life is usually going through the best or the worst person in your life, and who you connect with matters. Um, we explore, acknowledging diverse perspectives. What I'm saying, influenced by cultural, religious, and individual beliefs. We talk about societal problems associated with lack of sexual discipline, such as family breakdowns and increased rates of sexually transmitted infections. The importance of approaching discussions about sexual discipline with tact and avoiding broad generalizations is emphasized. Hey, I did a lot of work on here to make this conversation a lot more easier to have or more adult to have, because we have a responsibility to have hard conversations the right way. And I think too many times that we have been caught up on opposing views because we're having a hard conversation from the wrong messenger at the wrong place at the wrong time. And in most cases, when you're having these different conflicts, it's because people are more willing to use their anecdotal experience as the general value of whatever the topic is. Like, meaning that their understanding of what you're talking about can only be compared to what they've experienced. And in that case, sometimes you just need to be quiet. So, and sometimes even as the messenger, you have to be quiet and deliver your message in a different way. Sometimes you can deliver a message in silence. And sometimes if you have enough influence, silence is deafening. Sometimes we pay attention to what people don't say. And that's very important, and that's where like the whole platform of what Code Talk is about, and accountable masculinity, is knowing that you can't solve every problem with just your words or just your spoken words, with just your presence, or none of that stuff. Sometimes you solve them by not being there. And sometimes and in most cases, when you avoid the unhealthy competition, you're actually doing the work of solving the problem. The narrative questions the expectations placed on celebrities, arguing that they owe their audience creativity and entertainment value rather than being held to a higher standard of accountability and morality. The discussion critiques the practice of forming opinions on entertainers without knowing the full picture of their lives. Hey, you don't have to know the full picture. What you need to see is how their privacy is invaded when they have their name tied to a situation that could easily be yours, because they're not. Of course, they're going to have access to different variables in their environment because of what they do. But understand that the decisions that you make that look like what they do are going to have a completely different set of costs and circumstances associated with the average person. The average the average person that's not an entertainer, not an athlete. It costs them a little bit different. You know what I'm saying, in terms of privacy and just other comforts of security. Let's see. And as we move a little bit forward, the chapter underlines the cultural phenomenon of people basing their relationship opinions on celebrity relationships across generations. It recognizes the pronounced impact of social media and smartphone technology, cautioning against idolizing or comparing personal relationships to those of celebrities. The need for individuals to form relationship opinions based on personal values, experiences, and communication rather than external influences is emphasized. Pay attention to what's going on underneath your own roof, in a nutshell. And you're going to get that breakdown in the book when it drops, and I'll be posting links soon, and updating my channel as I go. But that's what this is about. This is about paying attention to what you can afford to pay attention to, and in most cases, unhealthy competitions are a lot more expensive than like what people think. The text explores the connection between celebrity culture and sexual discipline, asserting that the undisciplined individuals are more susceptible to distractions and influence of celebrity culture. It suggests that individual levels of discipline are crucial in determining the risks and rewards in personal relationships. The chapter concludes by warning against unhealthy conflicts with those who base their morals and character traits on mainstream idols and celebrity. Hey, avoid idolizing people. You know what I'm saying? Just be yourself, be the best version of yourself, and you can't do that if you're making life difficult for other people. That's one thing that's evident throughout the writing of this book, is that you cannot be an able-bodied human being and willfully be a burden to other human beings. That's negative. That's just the negative behavior. You know what I'm saying? And we don't have to accept it either, just like you shouldn't do it. Just like it's burdensome, and nobody wants to be a burden to another human being. So let's see. Knowing when to lead and when to follow. Chapter 3 covers this. The complex relationship between a leader's personal life and their public role, particularly focusing on the intersection of sexual discipline and leadership. The chapter begins by discussing the resignation of a military and CIA official due to an extramarital affair, emphasizing the implication of personal choices on professional responsibilities and the importance of maintaining a high level of personal and professional discipline. So you're going to have to read the book to find out who that's about. Okay. But it used great examples of how a high visibility platform and can impact the level of scrutiny in which you're seen. So act like people are watching. The chapter then shifts to historical examples such as JFK, Bill Clinton, whose personal lives, including allegations of extramarital affairs, have been subjects of scrutiny. The text highlights the impact of such scandals on public perception and political discourse, emphasizing the role of personal behavior in shaping leaders' legacies. Pretty self-explanatory when it comes down to it. What are you known for? What are you associated with? And that's what people are going to remember. Religious perspectives from the Bible and the Quran are also introduced, discussing examples of leaders like David and Joseph, as well as principles related to sexual discipline. The chapter explores how religious teachings influence ethical standards and moral considerations for leaders. Like, when you break it down and you really think about it, there's never been a society that we respect or champion or appreciate that does not that overlooks sexual discipline. So, because it has impacts, and it affects security, it affects peace and stability, it affects the ability for children to learn, and trust the people that are responsible for them to do the best things that are in their best interest. And if you got adults that cannot focus on the children, then you do not have a safe and stable environment if they are out here behaving recklessly with each other. And that is just the facts. That's my opinion based on the facts. Let me say it that way. So then we move on to chapter 4. Legacy and equity. What you do counts. The chapter explores the complex relationship between personal life and public perception using historical examples of civil rights leaders and political figures. It highlights The extensive surveillance and intelligence gathering conducted by the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover's leadership on civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. The FBI's efforts aim to discredit those leaders by collecting compromising information, including details about their personal lives. The chapter emphasizes the need for sensitivity when discussing historical figures and their personal lives, recognizing the complexities of individuals' lives and legacies. The narrative also delves into the personal lives of political figures, such as JFK and Bill Clinton, illustrating the challenges leaders face in balancing personal behavior, particularly issues related to sexual discipline, with their professional responsibilities. The discussion expands to include David Petraeus, retired four-star general, and explores how his extramarital affair led to his resignation as the director of the CIA. Look, this stuff is all public information, okay? This ain't conspiracy theory. This is just reality. You can look it up. And they all intersect somewhere. And the intersection of it is what tells you what's going on with how men are held accountable, how the consequences of you know what I'm saying, not guarding your boundaries properly or not setting proper boundaries can result in some unnecessary invasions of privacy. That's just it. You know, when it comes down to it, nobody's exempt. And that's how things go. That's how it gets worked out. That's just the weapon. You know what I'm saying? The tool that's being used. So I've been really, you know, in the weeds and figuring out what's the connectivity and what makes sense. Where do people understand each other the most? And it's really, when it comes down to, is who we hold in the highest regards, you know what I'm saying, for the right reasons. And so chapter 4, legacy and equity, what you do counts, is going to hit the way it's supposed to hit, you know. And then we get down into chapter 5, the template. This is based on the research, based on the behaviors, the outcomes. Chapter 5 was the late addition to the overall principle of what accountable masculinity is, because up until this time I only had 4 laws. But when I couldn't when I couldn't tie certain things together to make it, you know, it's like flow the way that it needed it to flow, I had to really sit back and give a different weight to, you know, certain behaviors. And sexual discipline is a big deal, you know what I'm saying? Because just because you can doesn't mean you should. And just because you can doesn't mean you should is very, very important, because that's the essence of discipline in itself, you know. So the sexual discipline attraction template is a suggested theory or guide to understanding the complexities of sexual discipline and its far-reaching implications. It advocates for individuals to be mindful of their choices, cultivate healthy relationships, and contribute to the betterment of both personal lives and community through discipline and transparent conduct. You can't have a safe environment where everybody's humping on the wrong people, man. You just can't expect to avoid certain unhealthy competitions. You can't lead as effectively as you'd like to, or as you should, as you were called to do, if you were tied up in extramarital affairs, sexual discipline issues where you can't control yourself, a lack of self-control. There's just no way that you can guarantee a level of security if you don't have the right kind of boundaries around your sexual conduct. There's a lot of things that just cannot be protected and guarded against or supported if you don't have your personal conduct in check. You know what I'm saying? So this is a big deal. This is where people get fired from jobs. This is where the Me Too movement came from. This is where every entertainer gets graded on. You know what I'm saying? Like, most people, men specifically, as this book is aimed towards, most men the world doesn't even know that they exist until they get in a situation that involves a sexual discipline situation where their characters being called to to the floor to be challenged, and next thing you know, they all in their business. This is, nobody knows most men exist until they get in a situation like this. This is why I wrote this book, so men can identify threats in the environment to their character, to their reputation, and also understand that there's a cost that comes with deliberately involving yourself in activities that are just not cool to be associated with, that you would want to come up in a casual conversation. You know what I'm saying? So I'm also going to read the first paragraph of chapter 1. Respect serves as a cornerstone for both self-improvement and the cultivation of healthy relationships. At an individual level, self-respect is the foundation upon which personal growth flourishes. When individuals prioritize and value themselves, they are more likely to engage in behaviors and decisions that contribute positively to their well-being. This involves setting boundaries, practicing self-care, and embracing a mindset of continuous self-improvement. Self-respect acts as a guiding force, steering individuals away from self-destructive patterns and towards choices that nurture their physical, emotional, and mental health. You got to do healthy things. That's it. That's the first part of it. And like respecting yourself, respecting your dreams, respecting your goals, and everything that you put on your own plate first is imperative. In order to like truly manufacture or manifest success in some way, shape, or form. You're further away from that with the less respect that you give to yourself and to the thing that you value. Okay, whatever it is. So, in the realm of interpersonal connections, respect forms the bedrock of healthy relationships. Mutual respect between individuals fosters an environment where communication is open, honest, and empathetic. When each person feels heard, acknowledged, and valued, conflicts are more likely to be resolved constructively, and emotional intimacy can flourish. Respect creates a space for individuals to express their opinions without fear of judgment, promoting a sense of equality and partnership. Healthy relationships thrive on the foundation of respect, allowing individuals to support each other's goals, navigate challenges together, and celebrate each other's achievements. Look, participation is the language here. It's the activity, it's the exchange that allows you to say, you know what, that person has something to contribute to the world, and I don't want to do anything to stop that individual from being the best version of themselves. So recognizing when to disconnect and let a person be who they're supposed to be for what they intend to become, that's something that everybody can learn to incorporate, I believe, in their regular day-to-day interactions with people that they say that they care about. So you got to give people room to grow and be who they are. Let me skip to chapter 2, and then we'll talk about unhealthy competition. Yeah. So this is how chapter 2 opens up. The idea that people base their personal relationship opinions on celebrity relationships can be seen as a cultural phenomenon rather than a generational curse specifically. While it's true that the influence of celebrities on popular culture has increased with the rise of social media and 24/7 news cycle, it's important to recognize that this behavior is not limited to a particular generation. People have always been curious about the lives of public figures, and celebrity relationships have been a topic of interest for decades. However, the extent to which individuals let these relationships influence their own views and choices in their personal lives can vary. The term generational curse might be a strong way to phrase it, implying a negative cycle passed down through generations. It's crucial to remember that individuals have agency and can choose how much importance they give to celebrity relationships in shaping their own views on personal relationships. Media literacy and critical thinking skills play a role in helping people navigate the influence of celebrity culture on their personal lives. It's healthy for individuals to separate the often curated and sensationalized images presented in the media from reality of personal relationships. Building strong, healthy relationships involves personal values, communication, and understanding, and it's essential to focus on those aspects rather than relying on external influences, whether they be from celebrities or any other source. So, in that, we got to put boundaries around where we place, you know what I'm saying, the value of entertainers and the perception of whatever their relationships are and how great they are, and even down to we can't make absolute assessments of their character based on their visibility. What we have to do is base it off of what we got access to. You know what I'm saying? We only basing our information or our exchanges about these topics on what is shown to us. And it's important that we don't intertwine our lives with it so much where we make decisions as if we're that person. And that's difficult for a lot of people to do when they don't have, a foundation with strong moral code. So that is important to highlight here. That hey, we got to put our celebrity culture and unhealthy conflicts in the boxes that they belong in, because one is a pivot point for the other. So that you'll read more about that in the book, of course. Get down to chapter 3. We're moving right along because we want to talk about leadership in this book. And the relationship between a leader's personal life and their public role is complex and often subject to interpretation and debate. The intersection of sexual discipline and leadership is a complex and multifaceted aspect of public life. Leaders, whether in politics, business, or other fields, are often held to high standards of conduct, and their personal behavior can have significant implications for their public image and the organizations that they lead. The intersection of a public figure's personal conduct and their professional responsibilities often raise complex questions about ethics, accountability, and the role of private lives in public leadership. So, a retired member of the military that also served as a public official that served as a leader within the Central Intelligence Agency until his resignation. He was widely known for his military career and leadership roles, particularly during two foreign conflicts in both Central and Southwestern Asia. He resigned from his position due to an extramarital affair with a trusted associate and brought attention to issues related to his personal conduct and ethical behavior rather than sexual discipline in a broader sense. He admitted to the affair and cited his lapse in judgment as a reason for stepping down from his position. Like, I don't know what else you could say. Like, imagine fumbling the bag because you you got poor discernment about who you need to spend your time with. Some situations just don't pan out for you. It just can't. Everything can't work the same way for everybody, and that's just the point. Like, once you ascend to a level of responsibility that comes a different type of risk that goes with it, different type of consequence, because it's a different type of reward when you make when you create when you accomplish something. There's a different type of reward, but when you don't accomplish something, there's a different type of loss that goes with it too. There's a big difference. Like, when you come down to sports, there's a big difference in losing in the regular season than losing in the playoffs. In the regular season, you got a chance to come back. In the playoffs, it's over with. So when you make it into leadership positions that are high visibility, you automatically in the playoffs. So you can't make a mistake. You can't make the mistakes that you could during the regular season. And that's just it. Because you are being watched. You are being graded. You are being critiqued. You are being studied. So at any given point in time, if somebody want to pull your card, they can do that. What you can't do is give them a reason to, because they already want to. So that is very important, and I think it's necessary to highlight. So, which moves into chapter 4. We talk about legacy and equity, and this is about without leadership. So we talk. So chapter 3 is with leadership and without. And in this situation, there is historical evidence to suggest that the FBI engaged in extensive surveillance and intelligence gathering on civil rights leaders during the 20th century. The FBI's activities under the leadership of J. Edgar Hoover targeted various individuals and organizations involved in the civil rights movement, including Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and other prominent figures. It is well documented that the FBI sought to discredit and undermine civil rights leaders by collecting information, including potentially compromising details about their personal lives. As part of these efforts, the FBI did investigate aspects of Malcolm X's personal life, including allegations of extramarital affairs. Malcolm X, born Malcolm Little, was a prominent civil rights activist who played a significant role in the Nation of Islam before undergoing transformation and becoming an advocate for broader human rights. His life was cut short when he was assassinated in 1965. It's important to note that discussions about historical figures and their personal lives should be approached with sensitivity, recognizing the broader context of the times and the complexities of individuals' lives. Malcolm X's legacy is primarily associated with his role in the civil rights movement and his advocacy for racial justice and his contributions to discussions on identity and empowerment. Let's see here. So the point of this chapter is that various leaders were targeted, and the vulnerability that got exploited in most cases was something that was always sexual in nature. It was always something that was exposed based on behavior. If you don't give them nothing, then they got nothing to penetrate your situation with, you know. But if there's something that can be exploited, it will be exploited. Because you'd be a fool to think that you can make the same moves when you have more responsibility that you than the moves you made when you had less resources, responsibility, and visibility. When you can get away with, like we talk about all the time, like the 80s babies and the 70s babies, we talk about living a life where there was no internet, no cameras, no nothing. There were so many things that could have ended poorly for us if there was video surveillance, if there was a lot of like a technology back then to document the mistakes that we made. And that era of people such as myself and people that can relate to what I'm saying, based off experience, we are ever more grateful now, than we ever have been. So, because things could have gone poorly for us, all you needed was a slight mistake. So we have a different respect for the cameras. We got a different respect for privacy and communication than some people that have never been raised in an era where they never saw cameras. So they may not see the same things the way we see, obviously. So it is key to not do certain things in public that will put you in the public eye for the wrong reason. Make the choices that you can afford. That's just it, because you can't control anybody. We're just saying that I'm saying in this book that there are plenty of examples of how people were manipulated. And moving into chapter 5, the sexual discipline template. So here we go with this, right? Sexual attraction template. In recent years, declassified documents have confirmed the extent that the FBI surveillance on Martin Luther King Jr., revealing the invasive and often unethical tactics employed by the agency. It is important to approach discussions about historical figures. This is my disclaimer. With a nuanced perspective. MLK's legacy is primarily associated with his leadership in the American Civil Rights Movement, his advocacy for racial equality, and his commitment to nonviolent resistance. While the FBI surveillance activities are part of historical record, they do not diminish King's contribution to the fight for justice and civil rights. Every individual that's of sound mind and reasoning who is responsible for the people that they choose to connect with sexually. Men and women are independently responsible for their application of sexual discipline. Sexual discipline is the practice of self-regulation of sexual urge and impulse. The criteria that they vet their sexual partners with will serve as indicators of whether they are sexually disciplined or sexually undisciplined. Sexual discipline is observable whether the observer understands what they're looking at or not. What the observer internalizes and replicates in their own behavior is relative, but also rooted in the environment in which they were raised. Reality lies within their ability to foster healthy relationships that are rooted in being able to reveal their true selves in sincere vulnerability. Sexual disciplined households are more desirable than sexually undisciplined homes to sow the seeds of desired positive outcomes. So, everybody has a learning curve, and most people's learning curve pivots off of how they were raised and what they saw, how they mimicked, and that their environment in their own individual journey. Everything you operate in the world with is based on the roof under which you were raised, until you have a situation that negates everything about the way that you were raised. And then you either determine that I got to make an adjustment here or tweak there, or maybe everything that I'm seeing in the world is wrong and I need to lean on more of my home training, if you have it. Some people don't have no home training though, so their experience in life is much different in terms of how they collect information, how they process their emotions, and how they react to other people, and things that could and could not hurt them. Everybody doesn't process threat the same way. So some people don't see danger where other people see opportunity. Risk versus reward. And when you get down into it, people make very different decisions when they have to lean on the instincts in which they were raised. That's why it's a big difference between people that have been, uh, exposed to traumatic events versus those that have only, watched TV shows about them. So some people try to critique and minister to people from places where they have no credibility, and the person that's usually undisciplined is going to already be deceived and believe everything that is being told to them, or more susceptible to being deceived even more. So in chapter 5, I use some historical events, and I weave that with the behavior, and you'll quickly see how overexposed some people make themselves, based on the choices. And you'll be able to relate this into your personal life. Everything that I'm talking about is not necessarily about you. It may be about something that you've observed that you can relate to as a witness, that you can relate to in your own family. You got to start there first. So I believe family is special in the sense that it gives you an example of the type of people that you can bump into in the world, and good, bad, and different. You have to have some familiarization, with different personalities to understand how to navigate the world in a safe manner. So, in chapter 6, we get down to the code of accountable masculinity. The rules are what we've been discussing, throughout this episode, this stream. And the rules they intend to outline principles that encourage men to focus on personal accountability, conflict management, centralized leadership, legacy and equity, and sexual discipline. Each rule is accompanied by insightful chapters that explore various aspects of these principles. This is about comprehensive framework, and the words around it go around like this: respect, empathy, selflessness, intuition. Men have intuition, okay? Self-aware, only people that have intuition are self-aware people. It's pretty much the same thing, but like capturing it in one word, it is intuition. Being aware of your environment and where you fit, we have love for both yourself and others. We care about the accuracy of information. You got to care about the accuracy of information. It is important to have some media literacy. It is important to not just run off the headline on something. It's important to check 2 or 3 other places to see if what you're looking at right now is actually true. There's so many different angles that misinformation can come to you, and it could be a make or break situation. You may not care at all, but the bottom line is that, like, you got to care about what you're consuming, and then, because what you consume, if you believe it to be true without any type of research, you can put out bad information just because you have accepted something as actual fact. Negativity awareness. Do not be unaware of negative people in your environment. Don't think just because you're a good person that nothing negative can't happen to you. If anything, you're more susceptible to it just because of that line of thought. Confidence. Confidence is not talked about enough. I think it's assumed that most people have to be confident, but in writing it out, confidence is usually the the segue. It's usually the bridge between knowledge and action. If you don't have the confidence, you don't get there. So confidence is very, very key, very vital to people being able to take the information they understand from potential to kinetic. Confidence is the bridge for that. Uh, Expectation management. The importance of effective expectation management is underscored, emphasizing the need for realistic and achievable goals. The narrative explores how setting unrealistic expectations can lead to frustration and burnout. Aligning expectations with achievable positive and sustainable self-improvement journey. In conclusion, the integration of these principles form a synergistic guide for men committed to self-improvement. The framework not only addresses individual growth, but also emphasizes the interconnectedness of personal development with well-being of relationships and the broader community. By embracing these principles, men can navigate their self-improvement journey with intentionality, fostering positive and meaningful transformation in their lives and the lives of those around them. You know, uh, we ain't arguing with nobody, man. You know what I'm saying? So, like, one of the main unhealthy competitions is men and women arguing with each other. We gotta cut that out. We can't help each other like that. We talked about celebrity culture. This is just a recap. Decentralized leadership requires knowing when to lead and when to follow. Must avoid misrepresenting fellow men. Although we are not perfect, we must have redeeming efforts. Everything you do, if done in good nature, it's okay to make a mistake. You know what I'm saying? But the nature of the mistake is very key too, because everything ain't forgivable. You can't be out here hurting kids and abusing people and then thinking that you're not gonna have to answer for that in some way, shape, or form. So keeping that in mind is very key. I want people to take what I'm saying, and if it works for them, it works for them. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But a lot of people just don't have any type of start point. So, or they at odds with the start points that they have, and there's nothing wrong with that. Let's see, get down to sexual discipline. Men must exercise sexual discipline in order to be seen as credible leaders and to maximize their opportunities. Sexually disciplined men are the only trustworthy men. Sexual discipline is defined as the internal self-regulation of sexual urges and impulses and its accompanied decision-making. Sexual discipline is important to the overall health of society. A society that lacks sexual discipline foments distrust and will likely cause negative impacts on the family structure and the community integrity. If everybody in your community is sleeping with the wrong person, how safe do you think that community is going to be? So a lot of us have worked in environments where the wrong people have the wrong relationships with each other, and they make the environment harder to work in because you're dealing with random anxiety from people that you have no history with, no connection with, and you don't even know why you're being handled the wrong way. And when it comes down to it, it's usually the wrong relationships are being cultivated around you, and you're having to deal with the negativity from those relationships, because those relationships are generally unhealthy, unproductive, and they hurt the environment more than help it. So this is why sexual discipline, you cannot dismiss it, because if everybody is sleeping in the wrong bed with the wrong person, eventually it's going to spill out into a security issue. And that's what's going to make it hard for you to go about your normal day in places where you should be generally safe and be able to go function as a responsible adult that's just trying to handle their business and mind their business along the way, So I encourage people to check out the book. The links are going to be dropping out soon, and and respect the brand, respect the work. I want to leave you with today's podcast episode or YouTube stream, whatever we want to call it, with this information, just basically like an infomercial. Today's episode is more of an infomercial because also today is my birthday. So I wanted to give you guys a quick down and dirty about what to expect from the book, because I know I've been talking about it, and and I want people to participate in it. And I want to say thank you to everyone that has dedicated the time and in exchanges and dialogue, the private conversations, the DMs, the inboxes, whether you're on IG, Facebook, YouTube, and I think it's something else, or just Messenger too. So it is very important for us to share our ideas and talk about what drives us and what doesn't. And I will also be back on this evening around 6 with the Code Talk Evening Show, and we're going to have a much different discussion around the book as well, and we're going to discuss the right and wrong men based off the book itself. So with that being said, I have enjoyed my morning. It's my birthday. I'm not going to hang out here too much longer because I got to come back later on. I just turned 45, so I'm going to spend some time, with my dog, and and go hit the gym and go do all the stuff that it takes to be the most accountable version of myself today. This is Victor Vincent with Accountable Masculinity and the Code Talk Morning Show, and we'll see you this evening.
Make sure you subscribe on all platforms and hit the like button and follow. Please leave your feedback in the comments. Make sure you hit up the super chat, leave a donation to support the platform. Yo chick make you mad, my chick make me a sandwich. Yo chick make you mad, my chick make me a sandwich. Go cop the shirt, visit the merch store, shop with Accountable Masculinity, and support the platform. Men have hope.